Yeah, what's up, everybody? It's about 5:13 or going on 5:13 on this President's Day, 2014, which is February 17th, believe it or not. And I want to talk about something. Somebody asked over here at the Technodrome forums of whether or not this new Nickelodeon series was better than the 2K3 to 2K9 series. Well, it's up, for anybody, that's up for debate. What was better? What was better than what? What was better and is, something better than what's going on now? Like with the 2K12 of the present series, the 2012 to present, the current Nickelodeon series, a lot of people will say that, oh, well, the Nickelodeon series is a lot better because it's funnier, it's a mixture, it throws you Easter eggs and hints and references and stuff like that. And I'm not denying that. I've seen that. I just looked on news.com, news.toyark.com, and I saw a lot of the new figures and stuff, a lot of the new figures, accessories, and vehicles that they got coming out that are going to be associated with the show. They got the blimp. They got the version of the Turtle Blimp, which I will give them credit is a very nice homage to the original. But you see, the thing is, though. Even though you could put a lot of homages and references and Easter eggs based on other incarnations, it doesn't mean something's better than the other. You see, people look at the 2K3 series and they say, well, that was based more on the original Mirage comics, basically more loosely connected to the Mirage comics. And that is true. But you see, they also had the mixture of humor. They had the homages at times, the references at times. So you had all this. You had all of what people like about the new series in the 2003 to 2009 series. So you had that, and people liked it. And I admit, maybe you didn't have as many references or many homages and Easter eggs as you do in the 2K12 in the current series. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that what made the 2003 to 2009 series as good as it was not just because it was based more solely or loosely more solely on the original Mirage storyline, or one of the original Mirage storylines, but it was more based around the fact, but it was more of what the fans had been waiting for. They wanted I guess in their minds, a more balanced out Ninja Turtles. They wanted the Ninja Turtle incarnation that was a balancing out in their minds of what made the Mirage comics good and what made the cartoon series good in a sense, because again, like you said, you had all these different references at times. You had your homages. I mean, there's a scene where April and Casey have to disguise themselves as news reporters, and she has a yellow jumpsuit. She has a number on her chest, and at first it says 9, and then it turns around and goes to 6. So, Channel 6. Get the reference? Exactly. So just because you might ask if one's better than the other doesn't mean it is. I mean, yeah, and I know I sound like a broken record here, and I apologize, but there is no doubt that the new series does give you a lot of these references and these Easter eggs and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But then again, there are certain things that this series is doing that does turn off a lot of the fans. And, some of the things they do in the new series, fans like, some fans don't. Some of the things they did in the 2K3 series, some fans like, some fans didn't. It's all depending on it all depends on taste and how one feels about another. That's mainly what it is. It's how one feels about something else. Which is why every time people like me come around on these forums or come around here on YouTube, and we basically say, this is why we like the series and why we don't like the series. End of story. I mean, to get into something else about the new series that I'm sure turns off a lot of fans at times, but also some fans like. And again, this goes into, whether or not this one's better than the previous one. And that is the fact that you have April and Donatello. We all know that in the previous incarnations, whether it's the 2K3 to 2K9 series, or the original 87 to 96 series, we all know, without a shadow of a doubt, folks, that the Turtles were attracted to April. Being teenagers, if you will, they had an attraction to April. Yeah, she was human, but she was, in their eyes, good-looking. She was good-looking, she was hot, she was attractive. They liked that about her. They did. And she knew that without a shadow of a doubt. But when you take a look at like a 2K3 series, which is, like I said, loosely based on the original Mirage storylines, the Turtles accepted the fact that she and Casey had become an item. You could have easily had one, if not all, the Turtles kind of be defensive at her dating someone like Casey. But they weren't. They were accepting of it. They were encouraging of it. They liked the fact that she had found somebody to help balance her out, balance out her life, and be sort of there to be there for kind of be there for her and help her kind of balance out her life. And the same with Casey. They were happy that Casey had found somebody that was going to help balance out his lifestyle and kind of have an understanding of what he likes to do and stuff like that. You see, again, there's no doubt. There's no doubt about that attraction that the Turtles have, but in the previous incarnations, they were more accepting of her being with anybody else. I mean, yeah, you take a look at the episode April Fool's Day, or April Fools, or whatever it's called. And yeah, the Turtles got infatuated, and more so than anything, when they saw April show them her dress that she was going to wear to the masquerade ball. Her costume, if you will, and they got attracted by that. They're like, whoa! Even Splinter says that the way she was dressed made him feel young. Because this is a side of April they had never seen before. So yeah, again, like I said, there's no doubt that you see that in both incarnations, but with the difference of the 2K3 series is the fact that they were more accepting, if not more encouraging, of her to be of the fact that she had found somebody that understood her, accepted her for who she was, and helped balance out her life, and vice versa in Casey Jones. Now, again, fans like that. And, of course, there are fans that didn't like it. Now, you get to the new series. You get to this new series, and you have, almost right from the first episode, basically, you have Donatello become infatuated, crush-wise, with April O'Neil, the teenage April. And now one can understand that this is one of the reasons they went in this direction. So at least it'd be more realistic for a teenage boy or mutant Ninja Turtle boy like Donatello to be attracted, if not infatuated, with a now teenage female in April O'Neil. Even if she's human, be kind of attracted and infatuated. Now, a lot of people of this, a lot of fans of the new series are always hoping that these two are going to probably get together, if not more so than ever. I mean, you have like a couple weeks ago with Target April O'Neil. She goes back to the Turtles after being away from them for about 5.5 episodes, or whatever, 4.5 episodes, whatever. She goes back to them. She thanks Donnie for being there for her, and she kisses him on the cheek. Okay, clue number one. And then this, like last week or so, with that episode, the Crank Conspiracy, there's a hint, I guess, of the fact that she wanted Donnie to be with her, or Donnie to help her, or Donnie to rescue her, instead of Raph and Leo. So there's hint number two, and then along with the other hint of the fact that she is half alien, half human, thus a mutant herself. So you kind of see those hints right there, and then of course you have these little storyboard sketches that are leaked, I guess, in several forms and websites, of a possible Christmas-themed episode or winter-like episode where I guess Donnie and her finally confront the fact that, Donnie has feelings for her and probably vice versa. So, again, that's all that combined, kind of showcases the fact and kind of strongly hints at the fact that they're pushing towards an April-Donatello relationship. Or are they? Because then here comes something that never once, and a lot of longtime fans know this is true, never once was ever indicated, was ever showcased whatsoever in any other incarnation. And that is the fact that you have a love triangle taking place right now in the story. Basically, this past Sunday, yesterday I should say, in the newest episode, you had Donatello and Casey finally come to a head, if you will. And thus, as some fans have pointed out, disappointedly, if not unenthusiastically, have pointed out, is starting the process of the love triangle between the three. Even though in this incarnation, April has never shown any attraction to this version's Casey just yet, other than her being a friend of his, and that's it. But of course, you got a situation where Donnie sees April with Casey, if you will, or hanging out with Casey more so than he and the Turtles, or mostly he. So of course, you have this love triangle situations, the hints of it, the foundation of this love triangle starting to, being cemented, being cemented, being put down, and slowly starting to build, if you will. Now, of course, you have a scene at the end where, Splinter's like, look, I understand how you feel about April, but you cannot force her to like you. And he basically goes into the story about his situation. So whether or not that's going to help out in the end, this is something that a lot of fans, longtime fans and new fans, they either like or they don't like. And again, that goes back to whether or not this version is better than the previous version. And that's where the balancing out comes around, because both versions are good in the eyes of some. I mean, honestly, if you ask me, I'll be straightforward. I prefer the 2K3 series because it's basically more of what I'm used to. Yeah, it's not the 80s cartoon or anything, but it shows homages after it, and it kind of stays true to that connection of the fact that, Casey and Karai and April, they're not teenagers, they're full-grown adults, and being full-grown adults, they have more access, more free will, if you will, more access, more freedom to kind of go out and about and kind of help the Turtles from the top side portion of things, kind of help them out and gather information that as teenagers they normally wouldn't be able to do. So, So honestly, I like it a little bit. I like it more than the 2K12, this current series. Not saying that the current series isn't good. It's just more along the lines, that you have this version that, a lot of newer fans, and I mean newer fans, are into more so than they are in the other one. Because you see, again, like I said, this is a mixture. And this is why the series is a hit in the eyes of some, because it's that mixture. It's kind of like, it's its its own story, but it has all these different incarnations. It has all these different hints and homages and Easter eggs and references, which is good and all, which is really good and all. But in the long run, as I said at the beginning, just because you're referencing and paying homage to a lot of previous incarnations and other pop culture things does not make a hit series. A hit series, it does not make. It does not make a hit series. It does not make the series a good series in the eyes of some, even if you do all that. It's basically, it's more along the lines of you being straightforward with the story, maybe throwing a hint here and there, but not going into overdrive with it. You know what I mean? Basically, don't go into overdrive, and that's what it seems like, my personal opinion, that they seem to do with this new series. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but sometimes that's a turnoff. And that's why a lot of fans would prefer the previous series, the 2K3 to 2K9 series, and maybe even the 87 to 96 series, and heck, even Next Mutation, if you will, as crazy as that sounds, over this one, because of the fact that even though they would drop hints and references to other previous incarnations, like what the 2K3 series would do at times, or even pop culture references like the 87 to 96 series would do, they never overdrove it at times. Never really, almost not like every single episode they would say, oh, here's a reference to this, here's a reference to that, here's a reference to this, here's a reference to that, and here's an homage to this. It's like it's overload, and sometimes that turns people off. Sometimes that turns people off, and they don't like it. Which is why, the question of whether or not one series is better than the other, it's up to the fans. Usually newer fans will go with the newer series because they don't know much about the previous incarnations unless they watch them or unless somebody tells them about them. So, to me, it's all relative. It's all irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because you never know which version is better unless you sit down and you watch every version. And I'll be right. Sorry for that small interruption. But anyway, like I was saying, it's all irrelevant in the eyes of a lot of fans. Fans will like the new one. Fans will mostly, it's like I said, mostly new fans will like the newer series over the older series. There's no question about that. And there's not really much you could do about that when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. So it's irrelevant. It's all depending, basically, folks, on who likes what. So who prefers what over it, and that's basically it. It doesn't matter whether it's a new series, doesn't matter if it's a previous series. It's all depending. And that's all I'm going to say. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll talk to you all later.